Hello and welcome to the Art of Decluttering podcast. I'm Amy and this is the first episode I've done on my own for quite a while because I've had all our amazing ADHD guests. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to some of the ADHD episodes, I highly recommend that you do. It's been amazing getting feedback from so many listeners. It's by far and above been the most feedback eliciting episodes that I've ever done, and I'm really glad. I think it's been helpful for you. I think it's probably been the right amount of time. I could have done this series forever, but I don't want to. I want it to be a series that is something you can listen to, something you can recommend to friends, but that doesn't take over talking about decluttering and organising. It's been some great hacks and some great tips and hearing from some incredible people. And today is my reflections on the series, some things that have been aha moments for me before we go back into normal episodes next week. So I've written a list of things that have stood out to me. One of the really big ones that I've thought about is that different is good. Like, I know that everybody's different. I know that all our brains work different. I know that, like when I work with clients, I work with clients with autism, with bipolar, with multiple sclerosis, with amputations, with ADHD, with different nationalities, with clients who are nonverbal, with clients who are hard of hearing or hearing impaired, like so many different types of clients. And the more people I get to be in the world of, the more I realize different is good. Like, different gives us different experiences, different expressions of the world, different understandings, different insights. And so that's one of the things that's really stood out to me as part of this series, is that, like, ADHD is not just a thing that, you can look at someone and say, oh, they definitely have ADHD because of these one or two symptoms. That ADHD is a spectrum, and it's so exciting just to see how different people's brains work. I just love that. I think I love creative, engaging, thinking differently brains, and that's what every single guest brought. One of the other things I wrote down is we're not completely one thing or another. And I really like that. I don't like labels that put you in a box. I like a label that kind of helps you to be understood, perhaps helps you to understand yourself, but then gives you freedom to evolve and change and think about, like, who do I want to be and how do I want, in this case, my ADHD or my disability to impact on my life. What is non-negotiable that I actually can't control it? And what areas do I want to work on and help my executive functioning skills or my communication or the state of my home? And so I hope that you guys have walked away with some ideas around that. Like, okay, well, that's one thing I could try. and I think particularly in Sylvia's episodes, and I think Jodie as well, they talk a lot about just trying something. And I think my natural instinct is, like, I do like to test and try things, but sometimes I just kind of get overwhelmed with thinking too many steps ahead. Like, okay, but if I try that, what happens if? But instead, something I've come away with is I'm just going to try it. If it doesn't work, that's totally okay. But if I try something, if I try going, if I just do one thing, if I try Jess's dishwasher hack, if I try Sylvia's put things in a box with a mouth and help kids when I'm working with them to, put their donations in there, like, just try stuff. And I think that's one of the beauties of the Art of Decluttering podcast, is that there is so many ways to do decluttering and organising. There's no one right way. There's not a perfect way. There's not a preferred way. Just doing something, moving forward is what I want to encourage you with. Let me have a look. Something else. Yeah, so something else I wrote down is my experience might help someone else. And I think until this series, there had been voices kind of not so much putting down, but invalidating my experience as an ADHDer. And it's not like I just got ADHD at 40 when I was diagnosed. My parents had me at a pediatrician at 7 saying, this child doesn't sleep. She never stops. Her brain's always going. What can we do to help her? And so even though at that stage they said, well, girls don't really have ADHD, they were wrong, but it was the 1980s. And so the experience that I have is easy to just be quiet about. But that's not helpful for people. That's not helpful for me. And if I hadn't been able to speak out and share my journey, then some of you may not have been able to be helped. And if Sylvia and Jodie and Carly and Carolyn and Joe and Jess and everybody that shared in this series, Trish, and like there's just been so many amazing guests, and their story helps someone else. And so I want to encourage you too, that whatever your story is, whether it's of being super organized ever since you were little and that's all you can remember, or you feel like you're forever a red hot mess, or you've learnt one or two hacks that really help, share that with people. Share that with me. Come and jump in the Facebook group and share what you have learnt, what one thing that is your experience that might help someone else. I think that the freedom to share our experience, even when our experience is not fully formed or we don't have the right words for it, is a really powerful thing. Let's go to a super quick break, and I've got some other things to share when we come back. I've really enjoyed in this series developing my tribe a little bit more. I think it's really important that we find our community, we find our people, we find people that understand us. Even when I was recording Jess's episode from yesterday, we were meant to record at 1 and then she was available a bit earlier, so we recorded at about 11. And I was still in my pajamas and I was like, oh, Jess, I'm a bit embarrassed. We're about to jump on a video call and record an episode and I'm still sitting here in my pajamas. And she was like, Amy, it's us. You and I never have to apologize for stuff. And I was like, oh, yes. When you have your tribe, people understand you and it allows you to be yourself. And so I hope that as part of this, you're encouraged to find your tribe. I hope we're your tribe. I hope that the Art of Decluttering staff and community and team are your tribe, and that you can kind of reach out and connect with people who get you, who understand you, who have grace for you. Another thing that I wrote down that I need to remind myself of is that perfectionism is crippling. And I don't think that's just an ADHD thing. I think that's a human thing. Is perfectionism in our own strength is just not a productive, helpful thing to be aiming for. We want to be trying for our best. We want to be trying for helpful, useful, kind, loving, but perfect is unachievable. You know, they say that perfect practice makes perfect, but perfect practice just means that you're probably just getting better. It may not end up with perfect, but just doing that next right thing. A lot of the guests have talked about, like, don't think a million steps ahead. What's the next thing you could do? What's one thing you could do? What's a micro declutter? What's a nano declutter that you could do right now that can actually help you to get where you want to be, achieve what you want to achieve? And so I think that that does bring some freedom. It doesn't mean that we're giving freedom to kind of go cluttercore and just make the house messy. That's the opposite of perfectionism, is not like chaos. The opposite of perfectionism, I think, is freedom. And that's ultimately what I have a heart for every person that I have come into contact with, whether it's via the podcast or social media or in person or at a speaking event, is I have a deep desire that you would experience freedom from clutter, but freedom from so many other things: freedom from overwhelm, freedom from busy, freedom from perfectionism, freedom from guilt, freedom from shame, freedom from the desire to just increase your stuff because that's who you think you are. And so all of this has come together as part of this series, and I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the feedback that I've got. I'm so grateful for so many of you that have sent emails and DMs and just kind of said, oh my gosh, this has been amazing. Some of my staff have come away going, oh yeah, we totally have ADHD. And so I know that there's going to be some of you on that journey. If you get stuck on what's the next best step, go back to the first episode where I talked to Joanna, the psychologist, because she gives some really good practical steps on what's the next thing to do if you are feeling like ADHD might be something that you'd like to pursue a diagnosis of or understand more of. And that's a journey as well. There's no perfect way to ADHD. We just all go on our own journey and take others and be encouraged with it. I think that's all the main things that I wanted to share. Thank you again for being incredible. I'm really looking forward to getting back to normal broadcasting next week. I've got so many ideas that I've been putting on hold because we've been doing this series, and I'm I just want to talk to you about so many things. So the episodes that are coming up, I've already recorded a few of them because I was so excited, and you'll have those dropping into your feed as of Monday. So again, thank you so much for traveling with me. Please come share anything in our Facebook community. You just search the Art of Decluttering community on Facebook and you'll find us. You can search the Art of Decluttering on Instagram. Again, you'll find me, or email hello@theartofdecluttering.com.au. If you've got an idea of another series that you'd like me to look at, please let me know. This ADHD series was really burning inside of me for about 12 months before it happened. So let me know what you would like to hear more of. And until then, enjoy the freedom. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land this podcast is recorded on. I would also like to pay respects to their elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation, and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love you to rate and review the show on your podcast app. That will help others to find the Art of Decluttering podcast as well. If you'd like any more information, you can visit theartofdecluttering.com.au. And I would love to see you in my Facebook group. Just search the Art of Decluttering community on Facebook and join today. I hope that you have an incredible rest of your day and enjoy the freedom.